Okay. All right. Good morning. Today is Tuesday, August 2nd, and this is Tuesday Talks. I'm Christina Dillabo, Director of Communications for the Desert Southwest Conference. Thank you all for joining me. And if you're watching the live stream or listening along, like Alberta Farnsworth, welcome. I hope you find something of interest today. And just a quick reminder, don't forget to email communications@dscumc.org if you have some ideas that you think would work well for the Tuesday Talks discussions, or if you have a question, like I was sharing with Peter just a little while ago. More often than not, when I get a question, turns out there were several other people that either didn't know about that resource or were wondering the same thing. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get us started. So the first item that I wanted to share is, surprise, surprise, one of the people that's joining us today is our new communications staff, Mr. Jeremy Crawford. Jeremy, yay, perfect, he just waved. So he's the newest person on the Desert Southwest Conference communications staff. I've shared his the article or bio about him before. Jeremy, do you want to say hello, share anything about yourself? It's great to be put on the spot.
Hello, everybody. How you guys doing? I just want to say everyone that I've met, every individual, very encouraging and feedback with everything that I put into. So you guys are helping me get better but I'm kind of new to Arizona. This is actually about a couple weeks ago. So love it so far. I got through my first summer, so that was something. But yeah, it's been a pleasure working with you guys. And I'll probably, I don't know if you want me to talk about like what I'm doing right now with these stories, like now or later on in the meeting, but
that's going to be the next step. But if you want to dive into it, we could just go ahead.
Oh, I guess might as well. But basically what I'm doing right now is we're doing this little thing where it's like it's small culture, big impacts. So we're basically kind of promoting the idea of those that are helping the community despite your size or whatever, putting those big stories up front and kind of spreading the message of hope, kind of what we're all here to do basically, but through a manner that's kind of going to these places, we're having a story, and then make a video with it, and then I'll do professional photography to boost their website as well, just to kind of give them a better, a better image or appearance, if you will, online, and it hopefully will drive more donations, more members, and that's the goal. So, yeah.
Excellent, thank you, Jeremy. So I'm going to add a little bit more to that. So that's really the bigger question, I guess, or I don't know, the first spot to start off is, why is it so important to share your church's story? Why does it matter to have an article published through the Desert Southwest Conference communication newsletter or whatever, or social media? It's not, I guess to answer that question, it would be, number one, by sharing what's going on at your church, whether it's a new ministry or something that's been going on for years and years, you're helping to inspire other leaders to maybe try something new or learn how to expand the current ministry. The articles will provide maybe some steps to consider, and if nothing else, if you already knew everything that we're sharing, then at least it's also including a contact person for someone else that might be doing something similar to your church, or someone that's doing something that you might want to try. And then you can either ask for feedback, how did you guys do this part, or like I said, seek guidance if you're at a stumbling block or you found some major obstacle. You can contact that person at that church to find out a little bit more of how they overcame it. The other thing is, we're not just publishing an article through conference news. Jeremy's also writing a press release that he is sending out to media outlets in that church's area. So we're also helping to spread the news about your church throughout. And it doesn't, I'm not trying to imply that your church isn't already doing that. It's just somebody else is doing it now too. And it's all just because we heard about this church story, a small church doing big things. And that's really what we're looking for right now, is more stories of small churches doing big things. So if you have a story to share, please email communications@dscumc.org. As Jeremy shared, he's also creating a short video. He's taken several photos of the church that the church can use to spruce up their website or social media presence. But here's an idea. Maybe your church already thought of it. You could also use those photos that Jeremy is taking, or the short video, bring that over to your local Chamber of Commerce and share it that way all about your church and talk about what's going on. You'd be able to share that press release article and make some new connections in your community. So the last piece that I think could be beneficial to churches, so many of our churches are already doing incredible things, but even the best communication outlets out there need a refresher. They find strength and improvement from getting feedback. So by connecting with Desert Southwest Conference Communications to tell your church story, we also can offer the option of doing a communications audit for your church. And so that's just us looking for all the different online presences or places that your church is online, and we can review it, give you some feedback, maybe some recommendations, and work with your communications team or staff or whoever to help implement some of those changes or recommendations. So none of it is a requirement. Nobody's getting graded on anything. There's certainly, you guys have seen conference communications. There's tons of places where we can improve, and we're working to improve now. So I hope that this doesn't come off as somebody thinks they're smarter or anything like that. We're all just doing stuff together. And if in that communication audit or discussion, sometimes when I've worked with churches, I learned a lot of great new things and tips. So it's very beneficial for us as well to learn more about, what you think would be a good idea and things that are working well in your context. So it's totally a win-win for the church, for the conference, and then for the other churches in the community that end up hearing about the great things happening at your church. So I can't emphasize it enough, encourage it enough. Please email communications@dscumc.org and tell us about what's going on at your church. Specifically looking for right now, small churches doing big things, but maybe your church is a big church or whatever church, we still want to hear about it. We're going to be writing stories about all of our churches, but this is what we're focused on at the moment. So questions or comments about that? Go ahead, Jim.
And self-unmuted here, I'm sorry. It really helps too. Like at Mission Bell, Jeremy did a very good job with that. But it helps to have someone from the outside looking at this critically, because I knew that was going on. Obviously, I'm at that church, but to have somebody write it up and do it from a third-party standpoint, it was very good.
Thank you so much. So the next thing I want to do is just share my screen real quick. Let's see, here we go. Oh, wait a minute. Well, yeah, okay. Sorry, it's because we went in a different order. So let me see, where's my screen? Am I showing the right one? I don't think I'm showing the right one. Just a sec. Stop share. Sorry. Lines. Here we go. Okay, one more time. Share my screen. And there it is. Okay, so this is the article that Jeremy wrote. It will be included in today's conference newsletter. So you'll be able to read all about it. Here you can see the different images or photos that Jeremy took of the church and the ministries that were going on there. So it's really nice photography. Any of these, you could use this to do a little social media blast about, whether it's a bake sale or the pantry needs or schedule, or all sorts of stuff you could do. So those are the items that I wanted to share about that. And then I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next item, which was a question that I received about just asking me if I could share the link to the annual conference summary report. So that made me think about it might be a good time to share why, of course, I'll share the link of the annual conference summary report, but why would someone need that report at this point? They were planning on sharing, I don't remember where they were going to share the report, but it made me think about the job description of what the lay member of annual conference is. So I'll include this link so you can really dive into it, but I know we're pretty early in the Charge Conference season. It hasn't officially started, but pretty soon here, your church is going to need to recommend someone to be the one or more people to be the lay members to annual conference, or your church delegates, right? And so this link will show you some of the things to be looking for in the person that's going to be the lay member to annual conference. It also tells you a little bit about the responsibilities that's involved with being the lay member of the annual conference. So, I'm going to share this with you, this link, so that you can review it all. And as your church is thinking of who might be a good new lay member to annual conference or returning lay member to annual conference, that person, if they haven't already seen it, may want to take a look at this link to learn more about how to be an effective lay member to annual conference. There is the little webinar about it, but part of the job of the lay member to annual conference is to share what happened at annual conference. And there's all sorts of resources as well on what to do and how to do it and all that good stuff. So without going any further on that, I'll show you. So here was the answer for where the annual conference report is located. It's dscumc.org/AC is the shortcut, or /annual-conference. If you check here on the left-hand side, you'll see there's the announcement videos for local church use, the annual conference logo files, and here's the annual conference report. If you prefer to share it, like maybe in a church council meeting, you can download, if you want to, you can download the presentation slide template and just plug in some of the details that way. And then all the great videos that we had from churches sharing about what's going on at their church. So that was pretty awesome. I'm going to just click on the videos one real quick to show you. I mean, these are all ready to be downloaded, and the title kind of explains what it's all about. So you could use these in, specific small groups. I don't know how else you might want to share it, but those are some of the things that are available for your church to use right now of what happened at annual conference. And I know that when Covenant Council meets again, they will be talking about what happened at annual conference and what does the Covenant Council need to do to help churches fulfill those, whatever it is that passed, whatever the narrative is from the overall experience at annual conference. So stay tuned. We will have more to share about that. What else? Any questions about that? Okay. All right, so let me skip on to the next thing. So could it be time for an update for your church? I had a question about how to edit the UMC Find a Church information on your web, or not on your website, but on the Find a Church website, the information that's published there, especially if you have a new pastor, but in some cases, you may have a new church name or social media presence, whatever. So it's really a good idea to go into umc.org/find-a-church, and I will include the link in my email to you all, my follow-up notes. But go onto that website and see what's listed there about your church. I'm going to share my screen again so that you can see. Let's see here. Boy, I'm really going out of order. Okay, so, oh, that's not the right one. Here we go. So this is the Trinity UMC Find a Church profile. And, one of the things you can do to update the information here is to scroll way to the bottom and you just click on this red Update Church. That will open up your email account. And basically you're just emailing, let me see here. I've got it written in my notes. What you're doing is emailing find-a-church@umcom.org. And in the email that it generates, it includes instructions of please list your church name, city, and state, and all updates you wish to make. If you have a picture to attach, please do so in a JPEG format. So you could either just go ahead and email findachurch@umcom.org or click on that red button and that'll open up your email account to prep sending them the update. So that's how you update your Find a Church profile. Super easy. Then, questions about that part? Okay. Then the next item was maybe it's time to refresh your website for whatever reason. Maybe you want new functionality, you want a new design, or you have a new pastor, and whatever the reason is, the two most frequently recommended website hosting resources that I share is umcchurches.org and Aboundant. Typically, umcchurches.org, I'd say that's your option for a very affordable, beautiful website that includes training for someone at your church to learn how to create the website, how to edit it, whatever. But now UMC Churches includes website design services, so you don't have to build it yourself. It is very affordable. I'll share my screen real quick. I've shared about this before. Let me see here. Where is it? Oh. There we go. So here's the pricing packages, and people like David Topping, who is joining us today, can share a little bit about how easy it is. Maybe, David, do you know off the top of your head a few churches in our conference that are using umcchurches.org for their website?
Oh, I know a lot of churches that are actually using it for their website. Even your local church, Scottsdale United Methodist Church, has been using it for a long time. What I've been interested in, though, is to see, because this whole build 5 pages or rebuild your website, et cetera, that's fairly new to them. And so I'm kind of watching that to see. And so, for example, I'm only aware of one that's got that going in process, but I don't know that I should share it yet because I'm not sure that they're really done. So
Sure.
I won't.
So what of your experience with churches using umcchurches.org, do you have a site that I could go to that people could see, oh, here's an example, a good example of how good it can look, or any feedback about how easy it is?
Yeah. So there was a church in California that I helped, and it's First United Methodist Church, Hanford, Hanford.
All of that is there?
Oh, no. I'm just telling you the name.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, I could give you the address, but
okay. Well,
yeah, it's fumchanford.org.
FUMC
Hanford. Yeah, hand, no D, no first D.
Thank you.
No problem.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Things like the cross and flame, that's included on the website resources, is it?
Well, that particular logo I did for them, but I did it in the style that UMC Communications will do it for you if you ask. And you've covered that in recent meetings as well. So yeah, the logo wouldn't come from UMC churches. That
Right.
you would obtain through the official channels,
Hmm.
or have somebody like me do it. So anyway, that's yeah, they're using the same theme that Aboundant uses, and also that the conference has been using, called Divi.
Okay.
Yeah, which is included in the subscription to UMC churches. So yeah, you can build all sorts of, you can build much simpler sites. I've been a strong supporter of UMC churches ever since we first used them for the Western jurisdiction.
Hmm.
And so they've been around a long time. They don't have a huge staff, but they are responsive, and the technology is good.
Okay. Thank you, David.
Sure.
So then the other example, since you mentioned Western jurisdiction, the other highly recommended resource would be using Aboundant. And this site, the Western jurisdiction website, was designed by Aboundant, and our Desert Southwest Conference website and redesign that we're working on right now is by Aboundant. So you can see here some of their pricing structure, and I will include this link as well. I'd say Aboundant is more for a church that really wants customized, like highly customized look and features. It's not that you couldn't customize a site from UMC churches. It's just, I don't know. That's my feeling. Is Aboundant's a lot more customized. There's a lot more bells and whistles, but it also costs a lot more. It's a great service. The people that work there are great. The owner of Aboundant is actually United Methodist deacon, so they understand the United Methodist world. So either way, it's a great option for you guys to consider. I will share, I've got a new idea. What about, especially for small churches, since that's our focus right now, is small churches that maybe have no budget, or a church that's maybe thinking about trying a new website that's going to use less ministry dollars. And if you don't need anything super fancy, consider using Google Sites. It's free. And so this is the support page that you can look up all sorts of information about it. This is how easy it is. So you would go to the sites.google.com/new, because there is a new version. You can still use the older ones, but some of the new plugins or options aren't going to be usable on the old version. So might as well go to /new, and you can either start from scratch or pick out a template. And so I had selected Club. And so it does take a little while for it to load up the template. But then from that point on, it's kind of just like, I don't know, plug and play, click and edit. It's very user friendly. I didn't do anything on this template so that you can see that you do have a tour. So might as well, oops, I was going to go through the tour, darn it. I just skipped it. So you can just click on anything and just start editing. What is your, I was going to write porpoise. I'm not spelling properly. There we go. No, that's probably, I don't know. Sorry. Anyway, how about that plan? So you can go in and just edit whatever you can. If you see the quadruple arrows, you can just click and drag it up and down to wherever you want it to be. You can change the colors if you want, like that. What else? Yeah, you can change the header image to something else. Just hover over whatever you want to edit, and you can edit it, or you can add new things. So it's, I admit I have never used it, but see, like, you can edit the footer to make these links go to something else, but it's free. My point in sharing this is just to show you, here's something you can try. Just maybe it's something that, have you ever had maybe a committee at your church say, like, we really need this on the website. There's so many things that we need. Maybe it's Sunday school. Maybe it's your United Women in Faith group. Different groups like that have changing content that people need to be able to access, download, print, share, whatever. I mean, it's not a Facebook group, but you maybe could create a little free website for them and give them editing rights as well. There's so many different possibilities of what you could, a Bible study group, for the season, if you're having, whatever the situation. I hate that I give so many examples. It's just where my brain goes. But anyway, so that's just something new for you guys to consider. Try a Google Sites. It's free. I'll send you the links so you can try it out. Questions about that? Mike, go ahead.
Thanks. I had a couple of questions about the UMC version too. That uses, does it use WordPress? I think you mentioned in an email it uses WordPress. And how much, is there an annual fee for just maintaining the site, keeping the site?
David, do you have an answer for that?
Sure. So the usual level that's appropriate for most churches is their silver plan. Bronze doesn't really exist anymore, and they have a gold plan, but that gives you extra storage space and email addresses that you might not need. So let's look at silver. Silver is like $57 a year, I think. And their domain pricing is very attractive. It's around, I think they just had a slight bump, but they try to keep it low. It's less expensive than GoDaddy, for example. So about $15 a year for your domain. So by the time it's all said and done, it's going to be about $70, $75 a year, including if there's any tax. Yeah, 51 for the, and then $5 is also, you can do $5 a month. You can do month to month if you like. And I also recommend an add-on called for domain privacy when you do a domain with them, because otherwise that's not included. You want to keep your contact information private. And so, so anyway, by the time it's all said and done, it's well under $100 a year for the UMC churches.
How does that compare to something like Squarespace?
Yeah, I'd say it's less expensive than the Wix professional plans or the Squarespace professional plans.
And are they comparable in feature capability or?
Well, the big difference is the Squarespace and Wix are proprietary and they're drag and drop builders, while there might be some third-party developers are a little more locked down and proscribed, whereas the WordPress is wide open. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of developers all over the world that are creating free stuff, free themes, free plugins, most importantly, for WordPress all the time. And in recent years, WordPress has gotten a little more visually friendly. So their new blocks builder called Gutenberg is a little more user-friendly. And there's the Divi is a WYSIWYG, so is a drag and drop builder as well. And also there's one from Israel called Elementor, which is a user-friendly builder that is actually free, that can be put on top. So they're just different. It's a little apples and oranges. I'm not saying that Squarespace or Wix would be bad choices for a church at all.
Okay, and if you were to use the UMC version of it, can you add other, you mentioned Divi. Is Divi a builder that you can?
Divi is both a theme, it's a theme and a builder in one.
Okay.
It's a subscription-based thing, but they have already subscribed to it for you. So
okay.
That's included. So, and Divi is one of the most popular building interfaces in WordPress used by the world. Plus, there are also user groups that can be helpful. There's very active Divi communities where you can, see, it says the most popular theme. Yeah.
Okay, and can you add other features if you want to the UMC, other plugins? For example, you want to add Ninja Forms or something like that.
Yep.
You can add that on your own for your own fee, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Great questions. And just to throw back to the Google Sites, so if your church was thinking about doing something, just trying it out, you could do a Google site for free and use Google Forms to, if what you need is like registration, you could do that through Google Forms. And, because you mentioned Ninja.
Yeah, Ninja Forms. Does
Ninja
Google
Forms.
Forms work as a plugin for WordPress?
Well, not exactly as a, I mean, not that I know of. I don't think it's a plugin, but you certainly could link to a Google form. You create it
Okay.
separately.
Yeah, okay.
So any other questions about websites and options, or something to share about builder type of website? Maybe that you, stay away from this. I will share. We used to use Drupal. It's a great platform, but you really have to know quite a bit about coding and all the, it's not quite as easy as WordPress. It's more for the experienced website developer, not the average, I want to try something new. No drag and drop there. Or maybe there are some new modules out there for making it more user friendly, but just to build it, if anything goes wrong, just a good rule of thumb for a church, I think, is to use a platform that's easy to use, friendly. Even if it's complicated, like Divi can seem complicated for people. Personally, I think it's one of the easiest ones to use because it really is just drag and drop and so customizable. But the nice thing about something like Divi is that there are, like David was saying, online forums, and it's very responsive. People can ask questions and help each other out. You can see tons of articles about how people used it to solve this problem or that problem. So think about that, because you don't want to be in a situation where your church is stuck, like heavily reliant on that one person that knows how to use your website editor. That's a tough situation to be in, and it's a lot of pressure for the one person. They're sick, they're on vacation, and sorry, the church website needs to be changed. Can you get log in there? We needed it yesterday. Like, that's a lot. So just something to think about. Go with something easier. Go ahead, Mike.
Just one other warning that I think I'd throw out there, an experience that I had is I used the church that I was at used a free, it was Beaver Builder was the builder at the time, and it was free at the time. But then they decided to start charging for it. And so you were kind of stuck. If you couldn't get any updates on the new builder or the new themes or anything else, unless you started paying them for something they started off offering free. And matter of fact, the site wouldn't work very well unless you started paying them. And so you had to make the choice of whether you switched to another theme or you started just paying them. Either way, it was going to cost.
Yikes. So if your church finds yourself in that type of situation, now you've seen plenty of other options that you can easily transfer into, both with Aboundant, or I shouldn't say both because I'm going to give 3 examples. With Aboundant or UMC churches or Google sites, any of those could really be transferred over, started up within 2 weeks. There may still be things that you want to tweak or modify or improve, but really you could have a brand new website in 2 weeks with any of those 3 options. So I will include links to them in the follow-up notes. And if we don't have anything else, I'll go on to, I've got 2 more brief things. Okay. So I had a question about, does the conference cover CCLI renewals for churches? I've covered this before, but sometimes the way I say it maybe isn't quite as clear. So this time what I'm going to share is, yes, the conference covers, and no, the conference doesn't cover. So I want to confuse you enough to make sure that you're asking questions in the right area and are checking out your own account. So some of our churches have multiple accounts with CCLI and even other copyright companies. So that's part of why I want to make sure that you're kind of questioning, like, well, I don't understand. Where should I go to find out more? Or let's check out our church accounts. The conference pays for, thanks to apportionment dollars, through the company called CCLI. The conference pays for a church copyright license for every one of our churches and a streaming license for every one of our churches through CCLI. I used to say, that's it. That's what they cover. If your church uses additional products like Song Select, then your church is paying for those additional products with CCLI. But now I believe Song Select is included in the church copyright license. I could be wrong, but that's the understanding. And so I highly encourage you to email customer service at ccli.com, because they're the ones that can see exactly what your church has through ccli.com. And so you can email them, tell them, here's my church, blah, blah, we've got this account. I want to find out what are the licenses we have. So the two that the conference covers are the group licenses for church copyright and the one for streaming. Anything beyond that is through the church. And so you do have to make those renewal payments if you're going to keep it going. And if your church uses some other company, the conference doesn't cover that, even if it's for copyright. That's something that your church is doing on its own. Questions about that? All right, then the final thing, and I'm so glad I've got David here because he's always got some extra nuggets of knowledge. I had a question about an email. This person wasn't sure if it was a legitimate email or not a legitimate email. So regardless of what your church uses for IT support, I wanted to offer, I don't know, I feel like it's in the refresh theme for today is think about trying to update your best practices or try something different. Recommend to people to never click on a link in an email unless you are absolutely 100% sure that this email is legitimate. So here's an example. I don't know, a couple weeks ago, I got an email from Apple letting me know something about my payment method needed updating or something like that. I can't remember exactly. And they provide a link so that I can click and go and update my payment services. So in that situation, it looked to me like the email is legitimate, but because there's such great scammers out there that can make something look really, really legitimate, that's where it's like, there's no harm in, instead of just clicking on that link in the email, just go to your Apple app or go to the Apple website and update your payment method that way. Then you know for sure there's no problems, whether it's legitimate or not, you've taken care of your business and you didn't open yourself up to potential scam or fraud or whatever. So keep that in mind. I know I often get documents shared to me through OneDrive or Dropbox or whatever. Even in those instances where it looks very legitimate and I recognize who it's coming from, unless that person has contacted me to let me know that they're sending me that document, I will either email or call them to just double check, did you try to send me something through OneDrive? And then I'll click it. It's just something new that, I mean, you don't have to do it, but it's just a small step that you can do to help prevent any scams or fraud or whatever. So that's just a little quick tip. Hopefully that helps for you guys. If you have something else to share, a tip on avoiding email scams, yes, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, another thing you can do that I was taught when I worked in a different company was you can just mouse over the email link or the link and look at the bottom left corner and look at the email address. And if it's some, just series of digits, .co.Poland or something, or, probably don't click on that one. But if it's, wellsfargo.com, it's probably legit, something like that. So you can look at the link to them and just make sure that it's what you would have typed in if you were to actually go to the header.
Perfect. Thank you, Mike. That's a great one. It's one of those, yeah, anybody can do that. And if you don't see it when you're hovering, you could right click to try to see it that way. You could right click and copy the link, paste it into a Word document, maybe a note or whatever, so you can see the whole URL that way. So unless there's anything else, anybody have something else to share? Okay, then, wow, 40 minutes. Today was one of the longer Tuesday talks. Sorry about that, but I hope the time was well spent. I Love hearing from you guys. Love it when you have stuff to share. But don't forget to email communications@dscumc.org if you have a question or a note that you want to share in Tuesday Talks, and especially if you have a story to share about the impact that your church is making in your community. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you all next week.